Have you ever stopped in front of the mirror, brushing your hair, and wondered just how many times you've colored it over the years? For many women, especially after 50, hair dye becomes almost like a trusted friend, covering up the grays, refreshing their look, and giving them that little boost of confidence every time they catch their reflection. It's easy to see why. A fresh color can feel like a fresh start. It brightens the face, lifts the mood, and often earns a string of compliments from friends and family. But here's the question few of us dare to ask. What's really hiding in that bottle of hair dye? Most of us assume that if something's sold in stores, it's safe. We trust the brands we've known for years, the beautiful boxes promising silky, vibrant hair. But the truth is, behind those glossy promises, there may be hidden risks. Risks that most people never think about until they face an unexpected reaction. Did you know that some of the most common ingredients in hair dye, like PPD, paraphenylenediamine, have been linked to allergic reactions that can escalate from mild itching to severe swelling? Or that constant dyeing can weaken hair, making it prone to breakage and loss? A particularly troubling issue for women already dealing with thinning hair after menopause. And here's the part that tends to shock people the most. Over the past few decades, researchers have raised concerns about the long-term health effects of certain hair dye chemicals, including a potential link to bladder cancer and blood cancers. While the science isn't entirely settled, it's a wake-up call that many overlook. But before you panic or vow never to touch hair dye again, take a breath. This video isn't about scaring you. It's about empowering you. We're going to break down what you need to know, who's most at risk, and, most importantly, how you can keep coloring your hair safely without sacrificing your health. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's dive into the real story behind hair dye, the good, the bad, and the smart choices that can help you stay both beautiful and well. You know, it often starts with just a little itch you barely notice, a slight tingling along your scalp, maybe a tiny patch of redness behind your ear. Nothing that feels serious, just one of those things you shrug off as part of the price we pay for beauty. But here's where things get interesting. What if those minor irritations are actually your body's early warning signs, quietly telling you that something's wrong? When it comes to hair dye, one of the biggest hidden risks is an allergic reaction. And the main ingredient responsible? A chemical called paraphenylenediamine, or PPD. If you've ever used permanent or dark hair dyes, you've likely come into contact with it. PPD helps the dye stick, giving your hair rich, long-lasting color. But it's also a powerful allergen. For some, the reaction is mild, a little itching or redness. But for others, it can escalate into something much more serious: blistering, swelling, or even breathing difficulties. The tricky part is that you can use the same hair dye for years with no problem, only to suddenly wake up one day with a full-blown allergic reaction. This happens because allergies can develop over time, and once your immune system decides that PPD is an enemy, even tiny amounts can set off an alarming response. Women over 50 face added risks here. As we age, our skin becomes thinner, drier, and more sensitive, making it less able to withstand chemical exposure. That scalp that handled dye perfectly in your younger years may now react with irritation, burning, or even flaking. And it's not just PPD you need to be aware of. Ammonia, used to open up the hair cuticle so color can penetrate, can also irritate the skin. Peroxide, which helps lift natural pigment, adds yet another layer of stress. Even the fragrances and preservatives used to make hair dye smell appealing can be potential irritants for sensitive skin. So how can you protect yourself without giving up the colors you love? The first rule is simple but often skipped. Do a patch test. Even if you've used the same product for years, apply a small amount behind your ear or on your inner elbow and wait 48 hours. Yes, it's a little inconvenient, but it can save you from days or even weeks of misery. Next, choose your products carefully. Look for labels that say PPD-free, ammonia-free, or hypoallergenic. While no hair dye is completely risk-free, these formulations are typically gentler and less likely to trigger a reaction. Another smart move: consider natural alternatives. Henna and plant-based dyes can offer beautiful results with fewer chemicals, though you should still patch test, since natural doesn't always mean non-allergenic. And finally, care for your scalp like you would your skin. Use gentle shampoos, avoid harsh treatments, and consider adding a soothing scalp serum or oil to your routine. A healthy scalp is the foundation for healthy hair, and it's much more resilient when treated with kindness. The takeaway here isn't to scare you away from hair dye. It's to remind you that beauty and health should always go hand in hand. By being proactive and informed, you can continue enjoying gorgeous color while keeping your scalp happy and protected. And honestly, what's more beautiful than that? It's hard to deny that feeling of joy when you catch your reflection after a fresh dye job. Your hair looks richer, more vibrant, full of life, and suddenly, so do you. But while we're busy admiring the gorgeous results in the mirror, few of us stop to think about what's happening beneath the surface of all that shine. The truth is, every time you dye your hair, you're putting it through a chemical process that can weaken and damage it over time. Hair is made up of a tough protein called keratin, which gives it strength, elasticity, and resilience. Permanent hair dyes work by opening the hair cuticle, the protective outer layer, so that the color molecules can slip inside and transform your natural shade. Unfortunately, this same process also strips away moisture and roughens the hair shaft, leaving strands more vulnerable to breakage, dryness, and split ends. For younger women, the effects of this damage might go unnoticed for a while, but as we age, our hair naturally changes. It often becomes finer, drier, and less dense, meaning it's less equipped to handle the stress of chemical treatments. What once left you with shiny, silky locks may now leave you with brittle strands that snap at the slightest tug or fall out more easily in the shower. And let's not forget the emotional toll of hair thinning or loss. Hair isn't just a physical feature. It's deeply tied to our sense of identity, femininity, and confidence. For many women, noticing more hair in the brush or on the pillow can feel like a quiet heartbreak, eroding self-esteem and adding another layer of stress. So, how can you protect your hair while still enjoying the color you love? One of the best things you can do is stretch out the time between dyeing sessions. Instead of touching up every 4 to 6 weeks, aim for every 3 to 4 months. In between, use root touch-up powders, sprays, or color-depositing shampoos to keep your color fresh without exposing your hair to more chemicals. Another key strategy is investing in proper hair care. Look for nourishing shampoos and conditioners specifically designed for color-treated hair. Incorporate weekly deep conditioning masks or treatments to restore moisture and improve elasticity. Leave-in conditioners and serums can also help protect against environmental damage, especially if you frequently use heat styling tools. It's also worth rethinking the type of dye you use. Semi-permanent or demi-permanent dyes are generally less damaging because they coat the hair instead of penetrating the shaft. While they may fade faster, they're often a gentler option, especially for those with delicate or aging hair. And don't underestimate the power of small, everyday choices. Use a wide-tooth comb to gently detangle wet hair. Avoid excessive brushing or tight hairstyles that put stress on the strands. Switching to a silk or satin pillowcase can also reduce friction and prevent breakage while you sleep. Ultimately, the goal isn't to give up hair dye, it's to use it wisely. By understanding how the process affects your hair and taking steps to counteract the damage, you can continue to enjoy the confidence and beauty that come with freshly colored locks without sacrificing your hair's long-term health. Because at the end of the day, true beauty isn't just about how your hair looks. It's about how it feels and how it makes you feel about yourself. Sometimes it's not just what you see in the mirror that matters, it's what's happening deep beneath the surface that deserves our attention. While many of us think of hair dye as simply a cosmetic choice, scientists have been quietly raising important questions for decades about its possible long-term effects on health. And though the research isn't entirely conclusive, the conversation is one we can't afford to ignore. One of the biggest concerns revolves around a possible connection between long-term hair dye use and certain types of cancer, particularly bladder cancer and blood cancers, like leukemia and non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Older studies suggested that women who frequently used permanent hair dyes, especially darker shades, might face a slightly elevated risk. This risk appeared even more pronounced for professional hairstylists who were exposed to dyes daily over many years. However, more recent research has provided a mixed picture. Some studies have found no clear link for occasional users, while others still suggest caution, especially for those who dye frequently over long periods. What this tells us is not necessarily that hair dye is a ticking time bomb, but that moderation and awareness matter. Beyond cancer concerns, another area of growing attention is the potential impact of certain chemicals on hormonal health. Some hair dye ingredients have been identified as endocrine disruptors, meaning they can interfere with the body's natural hormone systems. While we don't yet have definitive evidence on how this plays out over time, it's yet another reason why choosing wisely and reducing unnecessary exposure makes sense. So, what's a beauty-loving woman to do? First, be mindful of frequency. If you've been dyeing your hair every month for years, consider stretching it out. Not only does this give your hair a break, but it also reduces cumulative chemical exposure, a win-win for both your locks and your health. Next, choose your products with care. Look for formulas labeled low tox, ammonia-free, PPD-free, or paraben-free. These tend to be gentler and may carry fewer long-term health concerns, even though they might not last as long or provide as dramatic a color change. Third, protect yourself during application. Wear gloves, work in a well-ventilated space, and never leave the product on longer than recommended. These small steps can dramatically cut down the amount of chemicals absorbed through your skin or inhaled during the process. And if you have a family history of certain cancers or health conditions, talk with your doctor. They can help you understand your personal risk profile and advise you on whether it's wise to continue dyeing or explore alternatives. Above all, the key is balance. You don't have to give up coloring your hair altogether, but staying informed and intentional can help you make choices that keep you feeling both beautiful and safe. Because here's the truth, you deserve to look your best and live your healthiest, happiest life without having to choose between the two. At this point, you might be wondering, is it really possible to enjoy coloring your hair without putting your health at risk? The good news is the answer is yes. But like many things in life, it all comes down to making smart, informed choices. One of the most important and most overlooked steps you can take is doing a patch test before every coloring session. It's tempting to skip this step, especially if you've used the same product many times before without an issue. But allergies can develop over time, sometimes without warning. By applying a small amount of dye behind your ear or on the inside of your elbow and waiting 48 hours, you're giving your body a chance to signal whether it's okay or not. This simple test can save you from severe reactions like itching, burning, swelling, or even more dangerous outcomes that may require medical attention. Next, let's talk about choosing the right type of dye. Permanent dyes may give you the longest-lasting results, but they're also the harshest on your hair and scalp. Semi-permanent or demi-permanent dyes are gentler and fade gradually, which not only reduces chemical exposure, but can also give your hair a more natural look as it grows out. If you're feeling adventurous, plant-based options like henna or vegetable dyes can offer beautiful color without the heavy chemical load, though keep in mind, natural doesn't always mean allergy-free, so patch tests are still essential. Spacing out your dyeing sessions is another key strategy for protecting both your hair and your health. Instead of booking a color touch-up every 4 to 6 weeks, try extending the time between treatments to every 3 or 4 months. To keep your hair looking fresh in the meantime, you can use root touch-up powders, sprays, or color-depositing shampoos and conditioners. These options let you maintain your look without constantly exposing your scalp and hair to new chemical treatments. But even with the best products and timing, aftercare is where the magic really happens. Color-treated hair needs extra love to stay soft, strong, and shiny. Look for shampoos and conditioners specifically formulated for color-treated hair, which help lock in color while nourishing the strands. Incorporate weekly deep conditioning masks or oil treatments. They're like a spa day for your hair, helping to restore moisture and repair damage. Leave-in conditioners and serums can also help protect your hair from heat styling and environmental stressors. And when it comes to styling, gentleness is key. Skip the tight ponytails and harsh brushes that can cause breakage. Use a wide-tooth comb to detangle, especially when your hair is wet and at its most fragile. Limit the use of heat styling tools like flat irons and curling wands, or at least use a heat protectant spray when you do. And don't underestimate the power of a silk or satin pillowcase. It reduces friction while you sleep, helping to minimize breakage and preserve your color. Another often forgotten tip: protect your hair from the sun. Just like your skin, your hair can suffer from UV damage, which can fade color and weaken strands. When you're spending time outdoors, consider wearing a hat or using hair products with UV protection. It's a small step that can make a big difference in how long your color stays vibrant and how healthy your hair feels. Finally, if you're pregnant, particularly during the first trimester, it's wise to be cautious with hair dye. Many doctors recommend either avoiding hair coloring altogether during this time or choosing the mildest products available, like vegetable-based dyes or highlighting techniques that don't touch the scalp. Your baby's health is worth prioritizing, and with a little creativity, you can still keep your hair looking beautiful. The most important takeaway here is that you don't have to give up on coloring your hair. You just have to do it wisely. It's about finding that balance between self-expression and self-care, between looking good and feeling good. When you approach hair coloring with intention, it stops being a risky routine and becomes a joyful ritual, one that supports both your beauty and your well-being. Because at the end of the day, beauty isn't just about how we present ourselves to the world. It's about how we care for ourselves behind the scenes. And when you take the time to protect both your hair and your health, you're sending yourself the most powerful message of all, that you are worth the effort. So go ahead, embrace your style, play with color, and enjoy the process. Just do it with care, with knowledge, and with love. Your hair, your health, and your future self will thank you. As we come to the end of this conversation, it's worth pausing to reflect on something deeper, something beyond just hair and color. For many women, especially after 50, hair is not simply about beauty or vanity. It's about identity, confidence, and the sense of vibrancy we carry into the world each day. A new shade, a fresh touch-up, a well-timed highlight. These aren't just cosmetic changes, they're little rituals of self-care that remind us we're still here, still evolving, still worthy of attention, joy, and celebration. But as with many things in life, there's a balance to be struck. What we do to enhance ourselves should never come at the expense of our health. And that's where the real heart of this message lies. It's not about giving up hair dye or warning you away from something that brings happiness. It's about making sure you're stepping into that beauty routine with eyes wide open, with knowledge and care on your side. When we understand the potential risks, whether it's allergic reactions, hair damage, or the long-term health questions still being studied, we gain the power to make better, safer choices. We're no longer swept along by habit or advertising promises. We become active participants in our own well-being. Maybe that means patch testing every time, even when it feels like a hassle. Maybe it means switching to a gentler formula or stretching out the time between colorings. Maybe it's about learning to care for our scalp and hair in ways we never gave much thought to before. But perhaps most beautifully, maybe it's also about loosening the grip we sometimes have on perfection. Learning to embrace the natural silver streaks that appear, celebrating the softness and texture that come with age, and seeing beauty in all its diverse, evolving forms. Because here's the thing no magazine ad will ever tell you. True beauty isn't just about looking young or polished or trendy. It's about authenticity. It's about the light you carry, the stories you've lived, the kindness you show yourself and others. And when you nurture yourself, not just on the surface but at a deeper level, that beauty becomes undeniable. So as you think about your next hair appointment or your next box of color, let it be a choice made with love. Love for the way you want to express yourself. Love for the body that's carried you through so many seasons. Love for the future you, the one who will thank you for the care you took today. Remember, you are not defined by your hair color. You are defined by the way you carry yourself, the way you show up in the world, the way you treat yourself with tenderness and respect. And whether you choose to color your hair or not, The most radiant version of you will always come from the inside out. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. I hope you walk away feeling empowered, informed, and maybe even a little inspired to rethink what beauty means for you today. Because you deserve to shine, in whatever shade or style feels right for you. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We have so many more conversations ahead, all designed to help you live beautifully, confidently, and well, no matter your age. Until next time, take care of yourself. You are absolutely worth it.